All right. Simonun Hay Siftes. Gidin, dealing with broken, dislocated the leg, hind leg bones, or broken. So, hmm? All right. Gidin shesayf on the hack choice any. If it's broken, and it's poking out, and you have soft tendons in that spot, are not matzil. They're not going to keep it. They're not going to keep it from being treif because they're not strong enough to hold it in place. Chol Gidin mikri soif on the hack choice, and the Ramah says that all Gidin are called soif in the hack choice. So none of them really are matzil. Yud lo haya basar choifes rubo. If the flesh does not cover most of the bone, makom echad, ela mislaket ma'at kan, svivos ha'etzem. There's a bit of meat here, a bit of flesh here. Oshu b'makom echad, ela shu merudad. It's in one place, but it's like shredded. O niklaf me'ala etzem, or it's coming off the bone. O shenital shlishiso yatachton, or the bottom third is gone. O nikiv, o nistak, enem atzilim. That if any of these things, it's not a solid piece of flesh of basar in one area of chayfis. We don't try to add up. It has to be. The point is that it's going to keep it. It's enough to go ahead and keep it in place. Anything else is just gonna. It's not going to keep it, and therefore it will be treif. If the flesh is rotted enough that it would be in by a person, that would be what a doctor would scrape off to get down to healthy flesh. Then that's also not matzil. This is a general klal. That's not called basar. Hargava ein anabikim basar sharifa gorda. We don't know the exact shear of that which doctor would scrape off. Of course, every doctor is different, and who knows? I mean, back in the time of Chazal, they had it straight. If you see that it's starting to decay, then it's not matzil. If nikdar habasar b'sakin, if the basar was cut, it was slashed, or with a knife mi'al shever, ke'ein tabas ve'igul, or you cut a hole, v'rov ha'kefa mechuse, on the top on the top of the bone, or where the shever is. I guess maybe he was checking out whatever it is. He cut a round hole, but the round the bone is still covered. Kshera. That's as long as the flesh is still attached to the bone, the muscle or whatever, around, even if it's not attached on top. If the bone is broken in a place that makes a treifa, and the healed, then you do a im yatsa rubo, and you don't know if at one point rov went out im lav kshera. You don't know. It can be samech on the fact that it was a chesus heter and it's okay. V'hu shechazer l'mkoimoi harishim and yischaber shever im shever yachtav. You do baku. That's if it went back into the place and it healed. So then, in that exact spot, it's not like really stuck on the side, crooked, and I don't know whatever. So then it's fine. I got a feeling who are dying av makom shever, even if it's still formed like a big knot of bone, or it's a thicker part. Usually after a shever, bones a bit thicker there. The nikar adayin shenishbara kosher. You can see that was a spot where there was an injury. still kosher until you know that rov broke and rov went out of the skin. But if you don't know if it went back to its original place, you see there's two bones, and the here's the broken bone. Instead of going back, it's like sitting like one on top of the other. Treifa, then it's still treif because it's not considered one bone and it's still considered not healed. And this is all talking. So one second. Right, it's still a chumrah because Taz points out that it's still it's still a chumrah to go ahead and to say, because the mice it's healed. It's just you see that it's healed in a funny way. So it's the chumrah of the Ma'arik. So therefore it's therefore it's it could be it's you shouldn't you shouldn't add to it. It in itself is a chumrah. All right. So therefore, like the Taz says, that if even if it's not exact, but it's pointed, but they're somewhat attached and whatever, it's okay as long as it's not one on top of the other. Then it's okay. That's as long as it's not by the Tzomet HaGidin, by the place where all the tendons join. We'll see. Right. So the thing that the Shach points out that even if it's Avram Aduldo, even if the thing is completely was at one point didn't pop out, but it was completely it snapped completely inside and it was wobbly. If it did get healed, it's okay. That would be okay as well. I guess if you bind it up or whatever, that will be okay. If it goes out completely and then they set the bone, that's not then that's not good enough. That won't work because that it went out of the it broke out of the skin, rove. So then that wouldn't help. Yigimel nimtza shavur ve'ein Yodeah im nasu v'chayim. Oh, la'achar misa. So let's say you got your leg bone, you got and you're going to go ahead and eat it, and you notice that it's broken. The bone is broken in two. If you see that the place of the mak is black, biyadua shenase mechayim, then you know that it happened mechayim, and therefore it's a problem. And if you can't tell, let's say someone stepped on it or fell, any of these things. In lava surah mistafe, because here we have a reisa, here we have a reglaim ladavar neged the cheskas heter. So therefore, kol safek you go l'chumra. There is a there is a discussion. The tliya is if you know that the darsa ratzla, that the leg was stepped on after shchita. Darsa or ratzla, it got smushed or was stepped on, something like that. That something happened to it. So even though you don't know for sure that it got stepped on in that spot, but you could be toila since there's a chazaka that things aren't treifa, so you could be toila of the fact something happened after shchita in the processing, and therefore it's okay. Just like, for example, if by often you can at least here you get a chicken and you open it up the package and you'll see that the bone is broken and it's dark over there. So we just assume that if the bone is broken, we don't say okay the chicken must be treif, because we can assume that very common in the processing. They throw the chicken, they salt it, whatever. Bones break. The bones break afterwards. The packaging, all these things, the bones break. If it's completely black, that could be you should ask a shaila. Generally, I mean, listen, depends how black it is. If dark purple, I don't think it's shachar, black. Dark purple is unclear. So if it's unclear, then it can be told on the fact that probably it broke during packaging. Um, so therefore, you don't. That's a proper tliya. However, if there's no, so just to clarify what the Achronim say over here, and it's a general clause when it comes to cheskes heter, cheskes iser, is why the question they ask, why even answer it is suffix? If it's a suffix, as a cheskes heter, it should be mutter. So what the Rishonim say, and the Achronim, the grubbings and the different Achronim bring, is that if there's reglayim ladavar, that kol suffix, that the emphasis is that since it's a strong suffix over here, and it is and there's a strong, reglayim ladavar, this so that you see something happened, right? Unless so therefore puts a so unless we have something a tzliya to counteract it, then we're going to say that it is also. It's just a general rule that we're going to come across in many places. I think we've come across it before. Nun vav starts Tzomet HaGidin. Nitlu Tzomet HaGidin. Now, what's in Tzomet HaGidin? Pirush Makom she'HaGidin niksharim yachad lashon miba'ad l'tzamasech. It's the place on do a crude drawing over here. We have this is the hoof. All right, it's not really so clear, but this will be the hoof, and this is where the joint, which is, I guess, would be like our ankle joint, attaches. So that's called a Tzomet HaGidin. Now, for example, we have by humans, by people, we have the Achilles, the Achilles tendon. And that's that attaches to the heel, and that's by the heel is the place where all the tendons from the leg attach, and if they get severed, then person can't walk, right? So too by an animal, if the tendons get severed, so then they can't walk, and then therefore that's considered treif. Oh, sheniftaku, either they're ripped out or they're just cut. Treifos, even if the bone, everything is there, it's just the tendon was cut, then and it's treif. Beis Tzomet HaGidin heim b'behema be'etzem ha'imtzai klape chutz she'azanav neifil alav. Now this is Shitas Rashi. This is the backs of the animals, so facing this way. So by the back of the animal, there's a big tendon, which is, I guess, comparable to our Achilles tendon, which goes down and attaches by the ankle, whatever you want to call it, our kuba. And then it's like sort of juts out. I mean, this is all covered by flesh, by skin. You can't, but once you open it up or take an X-ray, you'll see that there's a separation of muscle. There's a bit of muscle and tendon going up here, attaching up here, and this is the bone. And there's tendons over here, and there's tendons in the front. Now Rashi holds that now the Gemara says that that Tzomet HaGidin, if there are three tendons which come together. So the question is, what does that mean? So the first shita is in Shulchan Aruch, is Shitas Rashi, is that it's talking about the big tendon over here, and there's two other small tendons here which attach at one point. So that's this is the place of the tails on this side. That's the Shitas Aravid that is talking about. There's three smaller tendons in the front. So that's what the Raiva holds as those are correct Tzomet HaGidin, because those are three together. Whereas Rashi's there's one big one, two small ones, and they only join together. When the Ramah says, and the Chaber is also, you can also be masking that we're machmir like both shitas. So therefore, if either of them are cut either side, it's treif. Ava svar rishona hiikar, and therefore makom hesed gedola. We would be, we'd be samich on shitas Rashi, and we would not be machmir like the Ravid, like the second shita, that it's in front. Gimel, he's chaltim lamala mea arkum. They started above from the arkum again was like the ankle bone. There's who etzem katan shemechaber hashoik l'arkuva. That's the small bone which attaches the shin to the calf to the joint there. I mean keres imarosh attaches it to the bottom part, which is usually sold with the head. The etzem zehu shemesachim bo atinaikos. Shakorin kugil. This is the bone that the kids play with, which are called kugil, which is actually another name for kugelach. Is another name for chamisha. What's called chamisha vanim. So obviously, this is an old game where they took little bones and played with them. I mean, that's not the knee; it's the ankle. Yes, by us, by people we have a kneecap, but by animals, it's down by the lowest one. There's actually a bunch of small ones, but that's why the Mechaber says that this is the specific one, which is like in the middle. Whatever. And the tendons go up from this area. And it's very tough and very strong. And they slowly widen out, and then gets absorbed into the flesh. The shok, not the kulis. The shok is the middle one. The shok is the middle, and the arkuva is the bottom one which attaches to the hoof, like the foot. If there's a couple gidim which are right by the arkum, which are cut, it's kosher. Above, from the arkum, that's where they would hang the animal on a hook from there. So that's treif. Hey, shir arkam imakom shemaschin lios tzamtzim, ad shemispashtim abasar behema gasa yudvav etzbos. Now the shear in the Gemara is given that it's treif until it gets in a behema gasa 16 etzbos. That's where it gets absorbed into the muscle. Yesh b'she'omer shehu shear dal etzbos. Some say it's only dal etzbos. Behema daka l'nasu chacham shear. By behema daka the chacham did not give a shear. Ela marisan uvamisha sheshkol zvan shehem lavanim. Kashim, as long as they're strong, white, strong tendons, avim yeshem din Tzomet HaGidin. They have the din of Tzomet HaGidin. But shekehek shem aschilim, nisrachech, when they're starting to soften up, o shehem katanim v'dakim, or they get small and thin, ein lehem din Tzomet HaGidin. They don't have a din of Tzomet HaGidin. V'makom she'ein lavanim kol kach, in the place where they're turning, I guess, pink or red or whatever, lavanim tzas, mazhirim, ke'ein schuchis, and they're getting translucent. Lo havi Tzomet HaGidin, that's not the Tzomet HaGidin anymore. So if it gets cut over there, then it's okay. The Aruch Shulchan, some Achronim discuss about the turkey, the Indic, the English shahen, or whatever. It's very funny because the Aruch Shulchan says that it's a Tarnagol Hodu, so the Indic means from India, so he's understood it means actually India. But it's curious because that's what they call the Indians, so the people in Europe were a bit confused about where turkeys came from. But Al-Kopanim, just a curious fact. Al-Kopanim, turkeys, if you ever buy a turkey, that the Gidin, the tendons go all the way up inside.
The assumption is that turkeys come from America?
They come from America. Turkeys come from
America? They only come from America.
Yeah, they're only found in America.
So the confusion between American Indian and the continent of India also applies to the turkey.
That's what happened. Anyway, you see if the turkey, the tendons go in, they go into the shok, into the drumstick, into the polka, and they're still very tough and strong. You can't eat them. You can't. So the question is, how far up is considered Tzomet HaGidin? So it seems a bit of a suffix. The Aruch Shulchan understands that in that case, then you go by measurement. You go halfway up the the bone, and that's considered the Tzomet HaGidin because you have to go by measurement, and that's why the Rishonim say a measurement, because they understood there are animals which are possible to go ahead and have and have Tzomet HaGidin, to have Gidin which go all the way up and not really absorbed into the muscle. Aruch Shulchan says that that the Rambam, he means the Rambam only goes with the measurement, and he says, well, it could be the Rambam, he had contact with India, so he saw the turkey. But what I want to say is what it means at Tzapele is that Chazal understood that there might be animals which they didn't necessarily exist around, but there are animals or birds which have gidin which don't get absorbed into the muscle, which they didn't know about. That for me is kosher animals. That for me is a bit of a pella. Vav ish gidim achim shenivloim be'elu bezachos and benakvos. There's other gidim which get absorbed in the whether it's they're inserted or they get inserted, whatever. They're not called Tzomet HaGidin because only these three or these strong ones which you mentioned before. Those are Tzomet HaGidin. Zion was finished with Zion. Tzomet HaGidin behema gimel echad av v'shnayim dakim. One is very thick, and there are two thin ones. Nechtach ha'av, the thick ones, cut levado materis. Nisha b'shnayim, even though there's two left, since there's two left, it's still okay. Nechtach b'shnayim and dakim materis. Ha'av gadol mishneim. There's the thick one's bigger than two. Very low nito kol tzoma. The area is not cut. Elamiuto. Nechtach rubo shakol echad mehem treifa. Let's say it didn't go all the way through, but it's rov of the three. So then it is treif hagid ha'av hu oisen shemafridin ishatolan behema. That's the one which is sort of separate. Like I showed, the thing is like a separate one when they hang the behema hu munach al shnayim, and that it's on top of the other two behem dvukim bebasar be'etzim, and the other two are stuck onto the actual bone, the actual shin bone, and the other one's sort of separate, and that's called that's one which is av, a thick one.